What's going on guys, CasualSavage here, and in this video I'm going to be showing you a walkthrough of Movie Studio 15. Now Magix have kindly hooked me up with Movie Studio 15 Platinum, and in this video I'm going to be giving you a walkthrough. So the first thing we're going to be starting off with is the UI, which is the user interface, which is essentially everything you see on screen right now. Now when you first open up Movie Studio 15, you'll be presented with a screen that looks exactly like this, except on the side over here there'll be a quick start guide. Now you'll notice there's not on my screen, and the reason for that is because I have exit out of it. So if you do see it on the side over here and it's no use to you, then you should be able to see it as a tab down here, and you just press this X button. Now we're going to be starting with the timeline, so everything we're seeing here where everything will be placed. Now you'll notice on the side here we have text, picture-in-picture, video, audio and music. One thing I want to mention, you don't want to get confused by this. Magix has just shown us what this program is capable of. So what essentially you have here is 3 video tracks along with 2 audio tracks. The way you delete them is really simple, and these tracks are just titled that specifically. So for example, if you want to delete one, you right click and select delete track. If you want to delete multiple, you select one, hold Control, select the other one, right click and delete track. You can see they're both gone. We're now left with video and audio. Now in my opinion, these tracks on the left look kind of squashed, so I want to drag it out a bit more. So to do that, come into the center and you can see you'll see these arrows. Left click and drag it out. And that's more suitable for me. So a new feature in Movie Studio 15, which was actually introduced with Vegas Pro 15, is now you can hide buttons. So for example, right here we can only see 3 buttons. On the audio we can see 2. So if we come over to these 3 lines where it says more, we then have compositing mode. Now compositing mode is usually there by default, not anymore. Track motion is also here. However, if we come to edit visible button set, you can see the ones that are going to be selected with a check will now appear next to the other ones. So I'll select track motion and compositing mode. I will then select OK, and you can see they are now both appeared here. We have compositing mode and we have track motion. The same applies for the audio. We only have mute and solo, but if we come to more and we come to edit visible button set, we have track effects, which is probably going to be a main one everyone's going to be using. So select OK with that and it will appear here. Now the next thing is how to exit out of certain tabs. So if we come over to the side up here, you can see there is a master volume control. Me personally, I don't use master bus. You may find it useful, but let's say you don't. If you want to get rid of it, all you need to do is come to it and select the X. That has now got rid of that master volume. Now going back to the visible button set, underneath the video preview you can see by default we have play, pause and stop. But if we come to the 3 lines which says more buttons, we can come to edit visible button set, and you can see you can then pick which ones you want. So you can have record if you're going to be recording your voice. You can have it straight underneath your video preview. That of course will be good for commentary. You can have loop, play from start, and then of course you have these other ones at the bottom. So if I'm being honest, they're the ones that are checked right now are the ones that I probably use the most. So I'd select OK. As you can see, we then get all of them underneath. Underneath them buttons we get our project. So you can see the project I have set up at the moment is 1920 by 1080 and it is a 60 FPS project. The preview you don't need to worry about because on export it's going to be in full HD. And then just running over these very quickly at the top, this button right here where it says save snapshot to file is going to be a screenshot. So if you have something on screen, you can come across to a certain part, take a snapshot, save it to wherever you want to, put it into Photoshop and create a thumbnail. We then have copy snapshot to clipboard. We then have overlays, so you can see these are different guidelines that you can be using if you do find them useful. Next you can see it says preview and auto. This is the preview quality, so bear that in mind, it's the preview quality. If your quality on the preview doesn't look as good, do not worry at all, because of course when you export it, it's going to be in full HD. Now if your PC can handle maybe best and full on video preview, then of course by all means use it, but you don't need to. Next we have a split screen view. Now this is just a split screen view so you can see before and after adding effects, which I will be showing you a little later on in the video. We then have video output effects, so you can see it applies video effects to all video events in your project, so it's going to save you a lot of time. We then have a full screen video preview, so if you select this it would come full screen, and then we have the project video properties. So if you select this is where you have control of your video project properties. So remember earlier I did tell you it was 1920 by 1080 at 60 FPS. If you wanted to change the frame rate, then you could simply come here and change it. If you wanted to use a template, there are a lot of templates to choose from in Movie Studio 15. Then moving on to these tabs we have down here. So we have Project Media. That means anything you drag into Movie Studio, the clip will appear here. Alternatively, you can drag in all your clips into this certain section here and you can see them so you won't have to keep switching between folders. Now I think this is a really good feature, especially for those who only have one monitor. It will save you clicking back and forth. Next we have the Explorer tab. Now the Explorer tab, you can basically browse through your PC, get your video files directly here. Again, it saves you going to folder to program to folder to program back and forth if you don't have two monitors. Next we have the Transitions tab, pretty self-explanatory. Same with video effects, and then we have media generators. Now media generators, you can see we have all these different effects here, but the main purpose of media generators in my opinion is text. So you can see there's a bunch of different text you can be using here, all set up, and they are all ready for you to just drag and drop in and edit. Now the final thing I want to be telling you about is the toolbar at the bottom. Now notice these things you're seeing here are also under your video preview. So we have the loop, we have the recording button, play from start, play, pause, stop, etc. And then here we get different things. Now the shortcut for this button here is D on your keyboard. So if I press D, you can see it's taking me to the next one, the next one, the next one, and the next one. Now the one I'm currently on, which is the first one, normal edit tool, is the one you're most likely going to be using. The second one you're most likely going to be using is the selection tool. So if you have a bunch of different clips and you want to select all of them at once, just left click, drag this all out, move it into position. Now, once again, if you are editing the way this looks and you X out of something by mistake, for example, we no longer have a video preview, that's a big mistake. To get it back, just come up to View, Windows Layout, and select Default Layout. This is going to bring everything back to how it was. As you can see, here's the quick start I was talking about, just X out of it if you don't need it. Also, I'm going to X out of this. And then let's say you're happy with the way everything looks, and then you'll also see the buttons underneath have been removed, so you'll need to add them all back in if you reset it. So I've added all of mine back in, and what we're now going to do is come to View, Windows Layout, and we're going to save layout as. Now I'm just going to call this main, and I'm select OK. Now if we ever mess up again, deleting the video preview, we can come to View, Windows Layout, and we can select main. What this is going to do is bring everything back to how it was and how we saved it, saving you a lot more time. Now of course with Movie Studio 15 they have added a dark interface. Some people may not be used to it and may not like it. Me personally I do prefer it, but there is a way to change it. It's really simple. All you need to do is come up to Options, come to Preferences. From there you would head over to Display, and from Display you can see it says Interface Type. You can either have it dark or light, so I'd select light, then select apply. You can see it's going to ask you to restart the application, select OK and OK. You then need to X out of Movie Studio and restart it. Now you can see I've restarted Movie Studio, it started back up, and this is the other way you can have it. So completely optional. Again, if you don't like it, come back to Options, Preferences, come to Display, select dark, apply, OK, OK, restart the program, and it'll be dark again. Now that's the UI done. I know I did spend quite a lot of time on the UI, however it is very important you are comfortable with where you're editing and you know where everything is. So the next thing we're going to be working with is some text. So for text, like I mentioned earlier, it is under the Media Generators tab. And then if we come all the way down, you can see we have different types of text right here. The main ones are titles and text and legacy text. Now with titles and text, you can see there are a bunch of different animations already done to this text, saving you a lot of time creating them animations yourself. So where it says pop up, I'm going to drag and drop this one on. And you can see we're going to get this box. Now this box is going to allow us to edit our text. You'll also notice this text has now been highlighted because we can now move this around freely. So I'll just move it there for now. We can then come here and type in any text we would like to. We can press Ctrl A, we can change the font size, we can type in a custom font size if it's not there already, and then we can also change the font. So any fonts you have downloaded in the past will appear here, and any other future fonts you download will appear here as well. You can choose from bold to italic or even both. Then you can also choose the alignment, so left, middle or right. Underneath that, we then get control of the text color. Any color you'd like you can pick right from here. The animation, we chose pop-up. However, if you want to choose or just pick which one you want to go through, you can pick from here. We then have scale, which is zooming into the text or zooming out, so how large you want it. We have location. Personally, you won't need to be moving it from here. You can just move it from the video preview, which I find a lot easier and a lot quicker. Then coming down, we have the advanced tab. So from this advanced section, you can see we have background. So you can select any color from here, and this would then add a background to your text. So I'll pick a bright, easy white here. You can see it's currently set to transparent. We just drag this all the way up. And now we have our white background with our blue text. We then have tracking and line spacing. So tracking is the spacing between each of the characters. If I bring this up, you can see that's what we can get. Line spacing, of course, if you have text like this, then if I bring this up, you can see there is the line spacing difference. Then we have outline and shadow, which are both pretty obvious, adding an outline to your text. So I'll just choose black because it's going to be very easy to see for the outline. And I'll bring this outline width up, and as you can see, we're getting an outline to the text. Also, we then have shadow, which is the final last thing on the text. Again, I'm going to pick black. I'm going to enable the shadow. As you can see, that's how simple it is to add it on. Then, of course, you can adjust how it will look, what position it will be in, all from these two right here. Now, I'm going to X out of this because remember, this was a preset which makes the text pop up. So if I play it through, now you'll notice extreme lag there. That is quite normal. Number one, I'm recording with OBS, so it's going to lag more than usual. But if I come across in frames, you can see this is how it will look. And of course, if you are worried about the lag now, once you export the video, there will be no lag. So don't worry about the lag on preview. Now I'm going to come back to the text by pressing this button, which is generated media. So if you ever want to come back and edit your text again, come here. Now instead of editing the text, what I'm going to be showing you is how to save it as a preset. Let's say you made some really nice text color, you've added a nice stroke, you've added a nice shadow. You don't want to be having to go back and remembering all of these settings. So we're going to create a preset. At the top you can see it says preset. It's currently called pop-up because that is the default pop-up. What we can do is put pop-up underscore. Now I'm just naming this for what I want it to be. You can call it whatever you want to. And I've called it pop-up underscore sample. I'm going to select save preset. I can then X out of this. Then if we click off this and come back to it, you can see right here we have pop-up sample. So if I drag and drop this in, we now have the exact same thing right here that we created here. Now it's also important to note that this preset is going to stay there until you delete it. The next thing is inserting videos or pictures. Now it's really simple. I'm going to insert a video first of all. You can see drag and drop it on. This is going to pop up and it's just going to ask if you want to set your project video settings to match the media. The media being the video. You can select this checkbox and just select yes, and then you'll never see that message again. You can see just like that. This video has now been entered. And this is the video I showed you how to do the typewriter effect in Vegas Pro 15 just yesterday. And also you'll notice in my projects media now, like I mentioned earlier, anything we put into our timeline will appear here. So we can essentially delete this from our timeline, it'll still be in our projects media, and you can drag and drop this on just like that. Next, inserting pictures, super simple, exact same steps, just drag and drop on. As you can see, we now have it right here. And again, just like the picture, it's going to appear in our projects media. And again, we can just drag and drop this on from here. Anything you put into your timeline will appear in your projects media. Now also, if I delete them from here, just select yes. What you can also do, let's say you do a vlog for example, just drag and drop all your files into the project's media. As you can see, they'll all appear here. Now what I'm going to be showing you next is how to add transitions. Now this is very simple and very quick to do. Head over to the transitions tab. As you can see, there are a bunch of transitions here. The ones with S underscore you will not see, and the reason for that is because it's a plugin I have downloaded, and that is Sapphire plugins if anyone's wondering. And all I'm going to do is pick on the flash transition. I'm going to drag and drop this. You can either add it at the start or the end or even both. So I'm going to add it at the start. You can see you can control how the effect will look. I'm going to leave it by default, and I'm also going to add it to the end. And again, this is going to pop up. I'm going to X out of it. Now if you zoom into your timeline, you then get control of how far these or how long these transitions will last. Now by default, you can see I believe they are just 1 second. So you can drag it off. As you can see, I'll now put it to 3 seconds, so that's a really long flash. And I'll also do the same to the start. So now if I play it from the beginning, you can see it's going to flash in like that. Do the video, and then it's going to flash out as well. Let's say you've added these transitions but you don't like them. No need to delete them. All you need to do, let's say we want a cross effect, just drag and drop it over the transition you already have, and I'll do the same to the end one. Then if I play it through, you can see that's what we get. Pretty simple. Now I'm going to drag and drop my video back on, and I'm going to be showing you how to insert some video effects. So there's two ways to do this. One way you can add it on the entire track. What that will mean, anything that is going to be on this track right now is going to be affected with the video effect you add. Another way, which is probably the most popular way, adding it on directly to one certain part clip. So for example, this clip right here. Now I'm going to drag and drop this Vegas Pro picture onto the other side just to show you how this works. So this first clip here, I'm going to come to the effects by pressing this button. Now some of these effects you're seeing you may not have, and the ones that you're seeing are the ones with S underscore you most likely won't have, because that is to do with Sapphire plugins. But if you come across, you can see Vegas. Everything that starts with Vegas you will have by default. So I'm going to double click one and I'm going to add on a vignette. As you can see, it's up here, so it tells us it's been added, and we can select OK. Now you can see the effect has already been added, but up here we also get full control of how this will look. So you can see we can also create a very nice effect like this. So I'm going to get into a tiny bit of animating. I didn't plan to, but I'm just going to show you anyway. So usually on video effects or transitions or even text presets, you'll be able to animate it, and you'll notice it's animated when you see this animate button. So at the moment I've started my radius on 0. I'm then going to come across on my timeline to 2 seconds. I'm now on 2 seconds because it says 2 seconds right here. I'm then going to drag this outer radius up just to here. So you can see we now have a nice soft vignette around the edges. Now notice anything else I change, it won't affect it on this animation. It will only be affecting the outer radius, and the reason for that is because that's the only one we have animated. So now if I X out of this and play it from the beginning, this is what we have just created. As you can see, it's a really nice opening. Now you can come back to video effects. Once again, let's say you created a really nice vignette and you're going to be using it a lot in the future. You can come up to preset and you can call this vignette, probably best, or whatever you want to call it. And then select save presets. You can then X out of it. And then notice I only added it on this one clip, so that means this picture has not been affected. So if I come back to video effects and I look for vignette, as you can see it's right here, you see vignette best. I can drag and drop this onto my clip and you can see just slight effects here. Now notice it doesn't look as strong on this, so you can just bring that down a little bit. Now how do you add it onto the entire track, which means anything in here? Pretty simple. Come to video effects, drag and drop it onto the track right here. You can see that's been added to this clip, and it's also been added to the picture as well. Then if you ever want to go back to take it off, you just come to the video track and select track effects. And of course we can X out of it by selecting remove selected plugin, and that gets rid of the effect. So now I'm going to be showing you that split screen feature I was telling you about earlier when you add an effect. So I'm going to head over to video effect and I'm going to add on a really easy effect to see, which is going to be brightness and contrast. All I'm going to do is put it to very dark by dragging and dropping onto the video. You can see it's gone dark. Now I'm going to X out of this, and you want to see a before and after. Pretty simple. Press this button once, and as you can see, everything on the left is before you added the effect, everything on the right is after. Now you can be very free with this split screen view. You'll notice when I go over the video we get this plus symbol. Now with this plus symbol we can left click and drag out a box. As you can see, we now choose how we want the before and after to be shown. The next thing I'm going to be showing you is something I'm sure a lot of people will need, is splitting videos. So for example, let's say from here, which is at 306, I'm going to press S on my keyboard to split it. Well, that's now done. Is set this free and this free from each other as well. But let's say you then want to come a little bit more across, press S here and delete everything on this side. All you need to do is select it and press delete on your keyboard, and you can drag this back. Simple as that. Now I also want to show you how to add something which I find very useful. So these things are known as markers. Now all you need to do, let's say for example right here you want the transition to end, but you want to do that a little later on because you want to focus on getting through the video first. Press M on your keyboard, and up here you can type in anything you want to. So I can put end transition. Now it's a bad example, of course you probably won't be using this for that specific thing, but markers are very useful. And then let's say for here you want, press M on your keyboard and start end transition for example, and then all you need to do is drag it back. You can see it snaps onto place like that. Same for this one, we can just snap it back and there we go. You can see there's a use of the markers. Markers are very useful and I do recommend everyone uses them if you need to. For me, I've been using them a lot more recently because they've been really useful. You can even look on screen now because the moment I edited this video, I knew I was going to be using markers. That way I'll be able to give you time codes in the comments below. Next I'm going to be showing you audio effects, which is pretty simple and straightforward. So again, you can come directly to the audio track, which is right here onto this specific clip, or you can affect the entire track by coming over here. Onto this specific clip, you come to event effects. You can just select all from here. As you can see, these are all the effects you can get. We can add a reverb. As you can see, it's been added. We can select OK. The reverb will then open up. As you can see, here it is. And then you can control the reverb. You can also come to preset, and there are different presets for reverb. And then once again, if you want to add it onto the entire track, you can just come over to the side, come to track effects. By default, you're going to have these three. If you want to add them, come to plugin chain up here, and we're looking for reverb, so we can just double click that. Reverb's been added up here. We can select OK, and reverb is now in this section, and we can choose a reverb we would like, or of course edit one to how we want it. So we'll be picking up the pace a bit now because I know we've spent quite a lot of time on other things. The next thing I'm going to be showing you is how to control opacity. So I'm going to right click and insert a video track, and I'm going to put this picture above the video. Now you'll notice if we come to this part, we can't see anything of our video. So if we want to be able to see our video, we can just bring down the opacity by coming to the center and dragging this down. You can see that lowers the opacity. So if I play it through, you can see that's what we get. So I can bring that up a little bit, and then to fade it in, we come to the corners by fading it in. We can come to the corner by fading it out, and then if I play it, this is how it will look. Just like that, pretty simple. The next thing we're going to be doing is volume control. So I'm going to drag on another audio track right here. As you can see, this is Whit Lowry Lay Here. It's the same song I used at the start of my video yesterday, and I'll just trim this down. So volume control. What I'm going to do is play it through first of all. You can see it's quite loud. So to control the volume on this specific clip, we come to the center again and just drag it down. You can see this is the gain, and I can play it through. and that's quieter. We can put that all the way back up. Another way, if you want to affect the entire track, let's say you have background music throughout, then you can just come here to the side, volume slider, and bring this down. So it's now -16, I can play it through. Like that. Then there's one final way I'm going to be showing you, and that is, I'd say, a bit more complex, but it's really simple. Press V on your keyboard, you can see you're going to get this blue line. Now just double click on this line, you can see a square will appear. Come across a bit more, double click, come across a bit more, double click, come across up here and double click. In between, from this line to this line, all we're going to do is lower the volume. So we're going to right click the square and we can select set to. Here you can type in -15 for example. Then also this square, I'm going to right click set to -15. Now notice we have a fade out, so the music goes quiet, and then fading in for the music to go loud again. So I'll play it through. That's how that will look. Also, if you right click this fading line, you can see we get different types of fades. Now a new feature that was brought into Movie Studio is picture in picture. So I'll be showing you how to use that right now. Come over to video effects and we're going to look for picture in picture. As you can see, it says picture in picture, and we also have different presets already set up for us. So I'll pick top left and drag and drop this on. We'll see how accurate this is. You can see that's how it's positioned. Probably not the best for me, so I'm going to drag this off myself to the top right. Then I'm also going to size it down by coming to corners. And there we go. And that's how simple it is for picture in picture. Again, if you're going to be having a face cam and using it every single day for the exact same video in the exact same position, come to preset and I'd say just call this face cam. Then you would select save preset, X out of it. Next time you come back to a picture in picture, face cam's going to be right there. So if I play it through, this is essentially what we've just done. Just like that, pretty simple. Now there's two more things left that I want to show you, and the first one I'm going to be showing you is track motion. So track motion over here to the left, and this is how it looks. It's really simple, and let's just get to it. So with track motion, it's basically like picture in picture, but you can control the entire track and not just one at a time. So going through the things at the top up here, we have rotation, so this enables the rotation for us. We then have a magnet. Now these dots you're seeing, this is what the magnet means. So I can drag it to the left, you can see it snaps into place like that. You can also uncheck it. We then get prevent moving X only, so now you can see I can only move up or down. We also get prevent moving Y only, so now we can only go left or right. It's a really good way to be accurate. The next to them we have lock aspect ratio and scale about center. Now these are pretty important because if I uncheck them and then we try to size down our image, you can see it gets a bit distorted. Same if we try to enlarge it the same way as well. So having lock aspect ratio checked, you can then come to a corner and drag it up to that one corner. Having both of them checked, we can then drag it in, and you can see it's going to drag it into the center, and we can also put it up. Now once again, I'm going to be showing you a little bit of keyframing or animating, and to do this we're going to come to sync cursor on our timeline here. For those that don't know what sync cursor is, it means anything you move up here, it's also going to move in our timeline here. Vice versa as well. What I'm going to do is start off here because we have already added a fade at the start and it means we wouldn't be able to see our thumbnail. So what I'm going to do is firstly size this down a little bit. Actually, I'll size it down quite a lot. I'm then going to delete the first keyframe by selecting it and pressing delete, and I'm going to drag this to there. Now I'm going to come to the middle of this. I'm going to right click, select restore, and just size it down a little bit. Then we can also reposition it here. And now what we've just created is the image to zoom in from the center and move to the top right and also fade at the same time. So if I play it through, that's what we've done. Pretty simple, and you can be a lot more creative than that. Then also for track motion, something you probably won't be using, but on the left down here you can see you can be a lot more accurate and enter more precisely. We also then can add a 2D shadow and a 2D glow to whatever is here. Now this can be a video or even an image. Now the final thing I'm going to be showing you is the pan and crop. very similar to what I've just shown you using the track motion, but except it's pan and crop. Now notice they look very similar. Now I also want to point out one thing to those who are familiar with Vegas Pro. This does not include masking, it just has position. Now starting off with this side over here, we have the normal edit tool, which is of course is what we're on now, which you're most likely going to be using. We have a zoom edit tool, which you probably won't need because you can just use the mouse wheel. We have enable snapping. Again, this is the same thing I showed you with track motion. These dots you can get snapped onto like that. We then have a lock aspect ratio, size about center, the same thing I showed you as well. And then also here we have move freely, or if we select it once, you can see now move in X only means we can only move it left or right. I can't move it up or down. And then if we select that again, we can now only move up or down. So it won't let us go anywhere else. Once again, you get control to be more precise of the width, height, etc. And then of course you can do the exact same animating again I just shown you in track motion with the pan and crop. Now there's one more thing left I want to show you which I completely forgot about, and that is exporting or rendering the video. So double click above your timeline, and right now these yellow dots are loop regions. However, I use them as render regions. So everything in here I want to be exported. So make sure you've done that as well. Now you can either come to make movie, so you can do it this way, it's completely optional, or you can come to project, render as, and we're going to use the new one which is built into Movie Studio 15, which is Magic's AVC/AAC MP4, which is now going to offer us faster rendering. So I'll just expand this out, and as you can see, this is everything we now get. So the faster ones are the ones that have Intel QSV or NVIDIA NVENC in brackets. So for example, this one right here, this is the one I actually use to render all of my videos because they also have this in Vegas Pro 15. And all you would need to do is select browse, choose where you want to save it. Here it says name, so you can call it whatever you want to. I will just call this sample, and then you would simply select render. It also gives us an estimated file size. I'll select render, just like that. It's going to be completed. Now that is it for this video. I know it was a really long video, however, I did want to go in depth to cover everything for a beginner, and hopefully this tutorial will get you started using Movie Studio 15. Now I do plan to make a lot more Movie Studio 15 tutorials in the future, so if there are any specific ones you want to request, feel free to let me know on social media or just tell me in the comments. But I hope this tutorial has helped you. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, rate, and peace.